Every tennis player has been there before. You're playing a match against a player who is not as good as you, but you still somehow lose. A lot of these players are called pushers, people that just get the ball back into play and force you to make a mistake, whether that be slamming one straight into the net or pushing it back to them. They force you out of your normal game. Today, I'm going to be breaking down how you can play your tennis against these kinds of players, these pushers, so that you're going to beat them every single time. Because a lot of people struggle with this kind of player all the way through the ranks of tennis. Every UTR will have a problem with this player. So I'm going to make sure that you're going to beat them every single time. So let's get straight into it. What do we call a pusher? What I call a pusher, someone that normally places a ball anywhere in no man's land with not much spin or not much pace, forcing you to generate your pace every single time on the ball. Every time you want to be aggressive, you have to generate the pace. It's important that you understand that there's 3 reasons why you can't beat a pusher. It's either technique, strategy, or mentality, or a combination of all 3. It could be any of those. So I'm going to go through those one by one, and by the end of this video, you're going to be able to understand how to beat a pusher. So the first one I wanted to get into was technique. It's super important that you understand that your technique is going to have to change slightly. Normally, when you play or when you hit or practice against a ball, it has a bit of pace coming towards you with a bit of spin, but pushers often don't give you any of that. They're just giving you a sitter ball and you're just missing it. So it's super important that you're able to adjust your technique to be able to hit and take advantage of those sitters. So it's super important that you're hitting at the top of the bounce always, as best as you can. So that also means when they're putting a ball short, you need to be able to move in quickly to that ball. There are so many times where someone is behind the ball here. So they're playing a pusher, the ball is about in front of them, and then they run in like this, and then they push the ball long, for example, because they're all the way behind the ball and they're letting the ball drop, and now they're in trouble. So it's super important that you are moving around on the court. Don't feel like you can now relax because the pace is lowered. You still got to be moving those feet, still making sure that your footwork is on point. Footwork is probably the number one thing that you need to think about when playing a pusher, making sure that it's still where it needs to be, what you would normally do against a normal player. Keep moving around the court. Now, the second part of your technique is you want to be able to hit either high balls or low balls. Because like I said, they're pushing. So it might be a bit short, might be a bit long. You're not going to always be allowed to take the ball at that sort of waist height, that strike zone in this waist area. You're going to have to take some high to be aggressive or take some low when you're a little bit behind the ball. So it's super important, and I do this with all my students, is to make sure that you are practicing high balls and low balls. So many people don't do this and then end up playing a moonballer even or a pusher in a match and wonder why they're losing, because you never hit those balls in your practice. So how can you expect to hit those in a match? So it's super important that you are practicing those high balls, making sure that you're still able to get the spin on a ball that's up high at your shoulder area and still being able to lift the ball off the ground when it's all the way down to your knees. Now, the second thing is the strategy, and this is where so many players get it wrong. When playing against a pusher, you want to become slightly more aggressive. Well, of course, because they're giving you shorter balls, they're giving you balls with no pace. So you want to be more aggressive. And everyone sort of intuitively knows this. But there's a difference between 0 and 100 and then somewhere in the middle. A lot of players, they go 0 to 100 in their aggressiveness and start trying to rip winners off the serve or hit winners off the first ball, right? If you're able to do that in a match, then you're probably going to beat them 6-love, right? Good for you. But if you're not able to do that against the player that you're playing, maybe they're moving around quite well, you have to set up your winners. So many people want to hit the winner straight away and way too early because they think, oh, this ball is super easy. This is a shot that I should be able to slam. The thing is, though, is that winners are set up. They don't normally just come out of nowhere. So a lot of players, they'll see their opponent in the middle of the court. They'll get a ball right here in the middle of the court. They'll run around to their forehand and they'll try and go for way too much cross court or even down the line. They'll go for way too much. They'll go too close to the lines and it'll go slightly out, slightly wide, okay? And then that's it. The pusher has won the point. And the reason why they go for those lines is because the pusher or the other opponent is only about 2 or 3 meters away from the line. So they feel like they have to go for a lot more with a lot more pace. They feel like it has to be an insane shot. And they feel capable of doing the insane shot because it's a sitter that they just got. That is not how it works, though. It's so important that you are setting up your winners. So when you get that first sitter, when you get that first ball that they've just pushed back, you go cross court and you aggressively target the very conservative angle. Maybe pull them out 2 meters left. So you only have to go halfway in between the middle line and the very corner of the court. So you pull them out there. And then they'll push it back, and they'll probably push it back shorter. So then you can move them across to the other side, trying to get it as deep as possible so that you're forcing a very short shot. And then once you get the really short shot, that's when you can go, all right, they were pulled out quite wide on the backhand side. So am I going to wrong foot them, or do I have a bunch of space down the line where in the other corner of the court where I can easily outpace them with my ball? The ball is on the service line. So now it's super easy for you. You could even go for a drop shot now. Your options are way wider. Your angles are wider. Now you can get a better angle as soon as the ball is shorter. But so many people from this sort of no man's land area try to hit a winner off the first ball. That's not going to work. Unless it is working, in which case, do that. But if you've hit once or twice and they keep going long or into the net and you're thinking, God, how am I not getting these in, right? These are easy balls. I should be hitting this shot. This is my tennis, but it's not working. Slow down, force the shorter shot for them, force the weaker shot for them, and set up your winners. Really important that you're setting up your winners. If you want to learn more strategies that are going to win you more games or better technique for any of your strokes, then hit the Skool community link in description and I'll be able to help you with any problems that you have with your tennis. And the last thing that I just touched on is your mentality and your mental fitness. It's so important that you're able to stay in a match for 1, even 2 hours, because normally these matches go for a long time. Pushers, they love their long rallies. They're normally quite fit, so they can move around the court pretty well, but their strokes are not the best, and so they're just getting them in. So it's normally going to be a long game. So being able to understand that and accept that and just work within the point and try to win each consecutive game, sticking to your strategy is really important. And don't sweat the mistakes, because you have to understand, if you're not someone who plays well against pushers, you're going to make mistakes. It's that simple. If you're going to be out of your comfort zone, you need to be making sure that you're prepared and mentally understand that you're not going to be perfect every time. It feels like you should be perfect against the sitter shots, against the really easy shots of the pusher. It feels as though this should be a 6-1, 6-2 victory. But it might not be, and you have to be okay with that. Don't be too upset with yourself if you're not able to make a winner every single time you go for one. You just have to play each point individually and just think about the strategy within that point. But it's also super important that you don't start playing their game. Okay, this is the extreme opposite of the previous problem where a lot of people are overly aggressive. But it's super important that you understand that you can't go to their level. When you're playing a pusher, you cannot start pushing back, because now you're playing their game and that's where they're most comfortable. Instead of mimicking or mirroring them, you stick to your technique. Do what you normally do as best as you can in terms of how you're moving the forehand. Because a lot of players, what will happen is that they start getting a pusher and then they'll do, their normal forehand looks something like this, really nice. And then they'll start going, like that, start hitting like this against a pusher, and then they lose. And they wonder, why was I doing that? Why couldn't I just play my game? And that's all because of your confidence. You need to be confident in your ability to beat a worse player than you, because often that's who they're not a good tennis player. Their fitness might be better. They were able to move around the court quite well, but their tennis might not be as good. So you have to understand that we want to be playing our game, all right, but we don't want to be overly aggressive. And when we do play our game and we're making mistakes, we cannot be too hard on ourselves because there's a reason why they're in front of you. There's a reason why they're your opponent. They are somewhat good enough to challenge you. So think about that next time that you're in a game against a pusher. I'll see you in the next video.